G'day, this video profiles the haunted stream track which runs from Tambo Crossing all the way to the Dawson City campsite. One of the tricks with this track is knowing what the water levels are, because they can go up and down a bit and you can check it online. I've left a link in the video description on how to do this. Okay, so it's a fair drive in from Tambo Crossing before you actually get to the haunted stream, about probably a good half an hour's drive or more. And then we start crossing the creek, and I believe there's around 53 crossings, so we're not going to show you all of them. It's just too many to put on one video, but we've selected quite a few just to sort of give you an idea of what you're up against. On the day that we were there, the water level for reference was 1.33 metres. That was the daily water level, and that gives you an idea of what the crossing depths are like across up through this track. So for the most part, at that level, the water level was barely halfway up the wheels for most crossings. There were a couple where it perhaps was a little deeper. So this area has been fair smashed by the 2019 fires. You can see here that there's been a little bit of regrowth in the subsequent years, but the bush is very much in a recovery phase. Here's the crew that joined us on this track. Here's Matt in his Mitsubishi Challenger, and coming up in the rear is Matt in his Toyota Hilux. It's a pristine system, as you can see by the clarity of the water. It's just an amazing neck of the woods, this. I haven't been up this track before. I heard lots about it. You can see that the track had been graded not that long before we were in there, so there were no major issues getting in and out of the actual channel itself. All very gentle. I understand that at times it can get quite rough in some areas getting in and out, probably after some flood events where the waterway itself might erode some of these areas. One of the features of this track is there's a couple of old mining areas along the track which are marked on the maps. There are some historical markers and some signage. You can stop and look, and if you're adventurous you can actually climb up the hill and look at all of the old mine shafts and some tunnels. We had a little bit of a look. We didn't have a lot of time on this particular trip. There's the guys going through one of the crossings, just to sort of give you an idea of the general depth. That's pretty well typical of most of the crossings. At some of these mining sites, there's some amazing stuff to look at, and we'll certainly be going back at some point to spend some serious time poking around, looking at all the old mining infrastructure that's still hanging around out in the bush there. I guess one of the features of this particular track is the vegetation that you drive through, and you can see there that the whole valley is just covered in ferns, and the ferns themselves, a lot of them were no doubt whacked by the fires as well, but they're coming back really well. Prior to the fires, this would have been an absolutely spectacular drive through the forested gullies. Some of the entries you still have to take a little bit of care dropping down. There's a few little step ups and whatnot, but nothing that's too difficult. With these river levels, on the day that we did it, I would consider this just to be an easy to medium track at most. So anyone could safely pass through here. I think if the water levels were up a little bit, and looking through the old river level data, it can vary quite a bit, and the water levels can go up by 200 to 300 mils or more. And I think at those levels, with a little bit more flow, this would completely change the complexion of this track and up the difficulty rating. Perhaps some of the crossings you'd have to be a bit more careful at. Unfortunately, this area has also been heavily logged in the past, and you can see through the video that there's barely any large trees in the valley, which is a real shame because it would have been nice to have left some of the really big ones, but most of this is all regrowth. It must have been clear felled almost fully at some point in the near past. So here we are at the end of the track, and there's a little campsite here which I'm calling the Dawson City campsite. We hope you enjoyed the video.